Welcome to day 2340 of What's Up to Now. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, sharing and documenting my online journey. Originally, as I transitioned from the brick and mortar corporate world of businesses to the online world of business, I started to document my journey, primarily because my coach told me to. And I like to think I'm coachable. Some things I am, some things I'm not, like all of us human beings. But I try to do the things that they tell me to do because I've learned early on that with mentors and coaches, what's the point of hiring and having them or being in a mentoring relationship if you're not going to do and take the advice that somebody that's been there before and done that gives to you? At least you try it out and test it and tweak it until you figure out how to get it to work for you. And guess what? Some of the things my mentors and my coaches have taught me absolutely positively flopped because they weren't in alignment with me and my core values and how I want to show up in the world. But that's different than not doing what people coach and help you to do. So I like to be coachable, but I also make my own decisions and think for myself and say, okay, this does or does not feel right to me, because it's like going to the doctor. Some doctors are good doctors, but not good doctors for me. Some, in any profession, people are for us, and there's lots of reasons that we don't click with different people. Now, we don't want a bunch of yes people surrounding us, but we also want people that match our energy level, that match our core beliefs and core values, working toward the common goals that we set for ourselves. I don't know, that's a tangent I'm off on. So what are we talking about today? Today in the Let's Grow Annual Challenge, we are going over the growing process. We're on step 2, which is results now or reality. What's going on? What's our current situation? Sounds like the SOAP framework, doesn't it? Why? Because I have processes that work for me and I tend to return to all the time. I know that the first step of anything is knowing what I want. What the heck is it that I want? What's my goal? What's the result that I want to get? And then I have to look at myself and say, okay, well, where am I really right now? Because that forms a gap between where I am and where I want to be. And I automatically start using the other steps in the process, just like the SOAP framework process. I automatically take action to start filling that gap. But I can't fill the gap if I don't know what the gap is. I can't do anything or take any action, which is what causes us to procrastinate, is we ignore where we are right now, or we pretend it isn't happening, and we don't set a this is what I really want goal. And if we don't have those two things, which are two things we control entirely, by the way, is we get to decide where we want to go. We just have to look in the mirror and say, where am I right now? And then we can start working toward getting to where we want to go. No matter where we are, no matter what's happening, no matter what craziness is going on in the world around us, we have the personal responsibility, the personal control, the personal power to do those things, to decide where we want to go and start moving toward it. So that's what we're talking about in the annual challenge today. We're on relationship growth this month. So we picked a relationship a couple of days ago. I picked my relationship with my mom. I'm sharing Montana's story throughout the entire growing process. And she picked her relationship with her partner. So we've got 2 examples you can draw from in both the video and the write-up in Guide 2 of the Let's Grow Annual Challenge private Facebook group. If you've got any questions about that, just hit me up and ask. All you have to do is answer the 3 questions to join that challenge and join that page. All of the videos we've done so far this year, all 177 tomorrow, are in Guide 1 of that page. And then in Guide 2, we have a chat GPT, some prompt I select and use and write up, as well as a story of how some person applied that concept that we're talking about every day. Why? Because I think stories, we talked about stories yesterday, I think stories help us to more clearly understand and relate to. It's why movies and books and everything are so popular, because they're stories that give a message and help us to learn more about everything and anything we're interested in. For Supersize Your Business today, we talked about podcasting, and I talked a little bit about my podcast. I've been podcasting since 2018, done 7,883 episodes on Libsyn alone as of yesterday. And I didn't use Libsyn, I don't think, until 2019 or so. Maybe even I was before 2020, but I didn't start using Libsyn until I was well over a year into actual podcasting. I started out on, I don't even remember the platform I started out on. I don't even know if it exists anymore. They, like any other industry, companies get bought up and merged together and they become something different. So I also have my podcast on Spotify. It used to be Anchor. I do remember that one. So Anchor was purchased by Spotify, and now Spotify. I have a podcast there and on Libsyn, which means it's syndicated all over the place. But I will eventually, someday I'll be on Alexa, Amazon Alexa. Someday I'll do that. I looked at it and I'm like, I don't need to do that right now. Maybe when I get a professional editor that edits and adds all kinds of fun stuff to my podcast, I'll do that. But I haven't done it yet. And that is for personal reasons. And we all do things in our own time. I started podcasting in one day. One of my friends, and this is really kind of a funny story. One of my friends online was talking about how she set her podcast up in a week and got everything going in a week. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. I wonder if I could do it in a day. So I picked the next day and I set up my podcast, and I've been doing it ever since. I like to be challenged, obviously. So because of that, someday down the road, I will make it more professional, but it's just me. And I'd rather be authentic, and I'd rather be me, and I'd rather show up and talk about, and you can tell if I'm having a bad day. I think you can tell if I'm having a bad day. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Sometimes I do my videos first thing in the morning. Sometimes I'm super duper tired, right? My cousin was teasing me. I was down in Texas visiting my mom because she's having some health challenges. And my cousins came down to visit too, a couple of my amazing cousins. And she was teasing me about always having a coffee cup in my videos. And I'm like, it's because I need that first cup of coffee in the day to even be able to talk. And some days I don't talk very well, right? Some days I trip over my tongue. A lot of times I say the wrong word. I'm thinking the right word in my brain, but a different word comes out of my mouth. Maybe it's because it's early. That's just an excuse. Maybe it's just because sometimes we all say the wrong thing and trip over our tongue. And guess what? That's because we're human, and it doesn't really matter. People understand what we mean 99% of the time anyway. So, talked about podcasting. That's it. That's all I've got today. Still in couch potato status, but I do feel like my eye is getting better. I feel like the blood is settling down. If I can help you in any way, hit me up and ask. You can ask a question on this video. You can ask a question where you see me. You can comment under any platform, and the message will get to me, and I will answer it. I love when you message through a platform that other people can see. Why? Because then more than just you get the answer. My favorite way to communicate is Voxer one-on-one, because it's a walkie-talkie app that I just have to push a button to listen. I can push a button and respond. I don't need to write. I don't need to text. I don't need to read any email. I don't have to try to figure out. You don't have to try to figure out how to write something when you can just give me a couple of sentences or a couple of minutes of what's going on and what you need help with. But when it comes to sharing that information and learning with other people, I love seeing it in a more public format, because I guarantee if you've got a question, other people do too. I used to be afraid to ask questions. And then I realized when I asked a question, I would look around the room. I learned this in college. I'd look around the classroom because some of my classes were really, really hard, or I just didn't get it. Physics and I don't know. Physics, I struggle with trying to understand it, which makes no sense, because physics is, you can see it. You can watch it. It's in the physical world. You can actually study and watch how it happens. But I had a hard time with that. I guess I don't like to face reality. But I would ask a question, and then everybody around me would be shaking their head. Yeah, what does that? What's the answer to that? How do you do that? How does that make sense? And I realized pretty early on that almost never are you the only one with the question. It's like thinking that we're the only person in the world going through something when there are literally hundreds of thousands or millions of people having a very, very similar experience to you right now that they could relate to and you could relate to. The internet's brought that home to all of us. We realize you can reach almost anybody about anything nowadays, because there are so many people having a similar experience to us simultaneously. I think COVID pandemic, everybody had a really similar experience in the world. That doesn't happen very often though. All right. Any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, have an awesome day, and I will be with you tomorrow.